Today we're going to be learning about 5.8, the law of cosines. This is straight out of your textbook, Advanced Mathematical Concepts by Glencoe and Harcourt, and we are on page 328. So if you need to follow along, I'll be doing example 2. The problem with example 2 is that it's got two different parts. I will be doing the second triangle, so part B, because it's more difficult than part A. And I want you guys to see the more difficult way to solve a cosine problem. Now, when do we use the law of cosines? When we are trying to find something in our triangle that is missing, and we have other measurements that we can use, but not ones that will help us for the law of sines. So for the law of cosines, you can have only triangle sides and no angle measures, and you can still find the other missing angles, or you could actually have angle measures and be solving for parts of the triangle on the outside. So either way, this formula is pretty versatile. So our basic formula for the law of cosines is a squared equals b squared plus c squared. What does that look like to you? This is the Pythagorean theorem. But there's a second part now. Since this is not a right triangle, we can't use just the Pythagorean theorem. There's the second part, minus 2bc cosine A. Now the good thing about this formula is that the variables are interchangeable, which means that if you have to solve for the side of b, you can do b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine b. Whatever's in your cosine has to match the side in the front of the equation, and whatever is in here has to remain the same. But you can switch the order of the variables. That's all right. So this problem, we are given that side B is 40, side C is 18, and side A is 24, and we would like to find the measure of angle B. So we're actually going to switch up the order of our variables in the problem, and we're going to start with a different form of the equation, which is b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine has to match the front b. Okay, and now we just have to put in our numbers and our letters. So I'm going to put all numbers in red and all variables that we're solving for in black, so that we can keep straight which number is what number and how we're moving parts of the equation. So b squared is 40 squared. 40 squared equals 24 squared plus c is 18, so 18 squared minus 2, a is 24, b is 18, oh, c is 18, and cosine B. Okay, so now what do we generally have to do with all numbers in our equations? We have to get them to the same side of the equation. So in order to do that, we're going to start by subtracting out our single parts of the equation. So this is attached to cosine B, so we're not going to touch that yet. We're going to first subtract out these variables. So we're going to subtract 24 squared from both sides. And we are also, and that cancels out, we're also going to subtract 18 squared from both sides. And if we go over here, that is going to look like this. 40 squared minus 24 squared minus 18 squared equals negative 2. This is what's left of our equation. Negative 2 times 24 times 18 times cosine B. Okay, so now that we have variables still on both sides of the equation, how do we get rid of this type of multiplication? We have to divide each side. So we're going to divide each side by this red part of the equation because that's our numbers. So divided by 2 times 24 times 18, and that cancels out. And let's divide this side by -2, 24, and 18. So now our total equation is going to look like this. And that is how we isolated the cosine of b. Now I'm going to go ahead and erase this part of the problem so I have more room to write. And show you how to take this and get your answer for b. So if we have that the cosine of b equals (40 squared minus 24 squared minus 18 squared over 2 times 24 times 18. That's one big number. So what we're going to do is put this in parentheses, and now we have to use our arc cosine, which is when you don't have a measure for b, but you have one number on this side, and that's the inverse of cosine. So now if we take cosine -1 of this entire number, so all of this information right here, we get what b is, and that is plugged into your calculator. So you click second cosine, and you'll get cosine of to the -1. You put in this entire number in here, and that will give you the measure of angle b. And the measure of angle b turns out to be 144.1 degrees. And that's the measure of angle b. And so now we have to find the measure of angle c, or the measure of angle a. And we're going to use the law of sines for this because it's a lot easier now, right? So we're going to find the measure of angle a, and then we just take 180 and subtract both of those angles, and we'll get the measure of angle c. So if we remember, the law of sines in our given formula for the law of sines is sine A over sine of A equals sine B over sine of B. We have A, B, and sine B, but we do not have sine of A, which is what we're going to be looking for. So, going to go ahead and start it over here again. We just found out that B equals 144.1 degrees, and we have all of the sides. So sine A over sine A equals B over sine B. So let's plug in what we have. 24 for A over sine of A equals B, which is 40, over the measure of sine of angle B, which is 144.1. Okay? And now we multiply each side by sine of 144 to get rid of it. Because whenever you have anything in the denominator, you have to multiply both sides of the equation to get rid of it. So, and we are left with 24 sine 144.1 over sine of A equals 40. Now this isn't what we want. We want to isolate sine of A. So we have to multiply each side by sine of A to get rid of it from the bottom. And we are left with 24 sine 144.1 equals 40 sine A. Now, I'm actually going to write this in black because that's what we're solving for. We divide each side by 40 to get rid of it. And that is going to be what the measure of sine A. So, going ahead and writing it over here, sine A equals 24 sine 144.1 over 40. And the last step to solving for the measure of angle A is to use our arc sign like we used our arc sign for the measure of angle B. And we are going to do that simply by sine A equals this whole number, 24 sine 144.1 over 40. And we use our arc sign to find this, the measure of angle A. So sine -1 of this entire number equals A. And A turns out to be 20.60 degrees. And now we just, in order to find the measure of angle C, all we have to do is 180 minus 20.6 minus 144.1. This is measure of angle A, this is measure of angle B, and C equals 15.3 degrees. And that is how you solve the cosine triangle.